Hi guys, it's Ruth here from Artful Stampin', independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I've been really enjoying getting up and playing with mixed media with cards and tags and things, so I decided it'd be really nice to maybe have a go doing some scrapbooking. I have done a page in the past where I've sort of done some spritzing and playing with flowers, but this is the first time I've really played with more textures like texture paste. Okay, so I started off with a piece of pink 12 by 12 cardstock, and I used the stamps, or the florals and leaf stamp from Petal Palette, and rather than putting them on acrylic block, I just, stamped them on by hand, just to get a kind of more random and textured, less sort of specific area fill, if you know what I mean. And then I made myself a mixture of texture paste and water, and just put that all over the cardstock to be almost like a gesso. It kind of prepares the cardstock ready for putting the brushes on, which you can see I've done. So I just, sprinkled the brushes on and then spritzed with water and then dried it. And then here I am using the texture paste, and then as I put the texture paste down, I then sprinkled the brushes on top of the texture paste to add some extra colour. And I'm using here the Memories and More kit, and within it is this gold, well, I'm using it as a stencil, but it's kind of like an embellishment really. So I washed it off and dabbed it dry because it's actually made of paper, it's not completely non-porous, and I want to be able to use it again. So then what I did was I had a little bit of water, about maybe a centimetre of water in a spritzer, and I put 10 drops of fresh fig re-inker into that, and then used another of the gold embellishment pieces as a stencil just to add some more texture on the page. And again, I dabbed it off, and obviously I could use that, the purple side another time or the gold side. Now it's important to try and make sure you're drying between each layer, so I did spend a lot of time kind of drying the paper and dabbing it and making sure it was dry. So I trimmed down the picture. This is actually a picture of my daughter when she was much younger, and she'd been playing in a park, and there was a hedge that she loved climbing and sticking her head out of. And so here I am tearing up some of the cards from the Memories and More kit. I love all the different prints on there, and wanted to kind of grungy it up, so I've torn them and then spritzed some of that remaining re-inker and water mixture and painted in strips onto there. And then while it was still damp, I kind of really manipulated the paper and folded and bent the paper over. So basically I wanted to create a lighter frame around the photo. Because the background was so busy, I wanted to be able to sort of highlight the photo. And my fingers got quite sticky at this point, so that's why I keep putting another piece of tissue over the top to push it down. So just remember that sometimes when you're getting in the heat of the moment and you're getting all messy and inky and it's really good fun, you still also want to protect your photograph. So just grab a piece of, I had some kitchen towel next to me that I just grabbed and used. So here I'm just, keeping layering up lots of different strips of paper, and then I needed another bit of green. So, and the brush I'm using is not a fancy brush. I think it's just an old makeup brush that was lying around. I'm not a big wearer of makeup, so it's more handy to me using it in artwork. So I wanted to put some sort of doily effect in the background and had a go trying to spritz, and it didn't kind of really work. So I ended up again I put some more water in my spritzer and had watered it down a little bit more, and then coloured the doily. And then here I am dabbing it in Versamark and putting some gold embossing powder just to kind of add again more interest and texture and a bit more luxurious kind of touch to it. I really love how that turned out. And then I did think about using that gold rose, but I think I saw it as being a bit too shiny at this point. I wanted something a little bit more rustic. And I spritzed that purple just in the corner because I felt I didn't like that square being so harsh, that square of purple, so I wanted to break that up a bit. So here I am just cutting the doily up. You know, you don't have to, you know, waste, you know, half a doily by sticking it underneath something. Just break it up and use it. And then I did decide to use that sort of mesh-like embellishment, but I didn't want the sort of harsh lines. It's got a kind of like line going all the way around it, obviously to hold it together, but I didn't want that harsh line, so I cut it up and used pieces of it. Now in the kit there are some stickers, as you can see, and I had thought of using some of the wordings, but I found that because the colour was Calypso Coral and the colours I've ended up using were more pinks and purples, I didn't want them to add another colour to it. So I ended up using a sentiment that's actually on one of the cards. I just tore it and used it. So here I am just putting it all together now, sticking the various elements in, and you know, this is quite a fun part where you're trying to think, you know, how you want to draw the eye to look at the different things that are going on. So that sticker, those roses are stickers, and I had thought initially I would just stick them down. But I'll tell you, explain a little bit more about those in a minute. So here I'm cutting out they're like little frames, and because they are pre-cut out for you, so you can just pull them off, the actual colour, the purple and the sweet sugar plum, actually go beyond the cut line. So I realised that actually by cutting it out by hand, you created another frame. So I did this, and obviously you saw me just gold emboss it as well, just to add some extra texture. Then I wanted to back it with some more purple, so I just went back into the card kit and found some more purple to do it with. So then I wasn't really happy with the way that the stickers were quite flat, and I didn't want the sentiment being flat against my layout, so I just grabbed a bit of cardboard out of my recycling bin and just stuck a piece behind the sentiment before sticking it down. And when I did this, I did say, oh my goodness, I know I'm not meant to use acid-free cardboard, and I don't think the cardboard was acid-free, but it's not touching the photograph, so I decided just to go ahead with it. If you feel that you don't want to use non-acid-free product, that's fine. Maybe just layer up some pieces of acid-free cardstock and do exactly the same thing. So I love these little frames for just adding some extra detail, and some of the frames I actually cut and made it look like there was more of them. So the rose and the leaf, I actually cut them apart because I wanted the leaf to properly sit behind the rose rather than being part of that one piece. So I really love how this Memories and More kit, you know, it can really be customised. You don't have to use it straight out of the box, as it were, although it is beautiful and it would look lovely straight out of the box. It's nice to see what can be done by painting and spritzing and so on. So I love this little green kind of wreath thing. It's really gorgeous. And so I just used quarter of it so I could use part of it to tuck on the side there. Okay, so then I decided to grab some of the Craft White re-inker and just put some brush strokes across the whole work, just to soften different places, and I was just experimenting as well, so that's what was quite fun about this piece, that I was using techniques I hadn't used before, and you know, it's nice to also perhaps play with techniques that can be then used for card making. So I had a little drop of water, maybe about ½ centimetre of water in the bottom of the spritzer, and I put 5 drops of Old Olive re-inker, and I then just basically use the piece that you put in to screw on. I just got that and started splatting that all over the place and masked my photograph. Then after making it, I decided that I needed some more flowers. I didn't feel that there was enough of a draw of your eye across the page, and it needed something else in that corner. So I used one of the cards that have the rose printed on there, and I cut it out, and one of the roses was sort of at the side of the card, so it wasn't complete. So I used that to stick underneath the other rose to make it look a little bit more 3D. I also obviously just used my hands to scrunch the paper and use tweezers to not make it so flat. So then of course I had to grungy it up so it didn't look out of place with all the others. So I just put some ink and paint and yeah, try to make it look like the rest of the flowers. And then so when I added that extra layer of flower, the portion that doesn't meet up with the previous flower, I put 2 lots of dimensionals on top of each other so that it was really raised up from the layout. And then that's that lovely leaf. And I just trimmed it a bit. It had I think too much kind of white outline, so I just trimmed that down. So again, I just did some green droplets, masked my photo off, and there we have it. So thank you very much for joining me on this journey. And oh, I forgot forgot the embellishments. Oh my goodness, I love these. These are the glitter. I can't remember the name of them now, but they are some glitter embellishments, little stickers, and they come in the most gorgeous colours, and the pinks just seem to fit completely, and the greens. So I actually ended up, I didn't use the pinks at all. I ended up just using the green, and it was just nice to have those little droplets all over the place. So here we go. Here's a photo, so you can really see the texture and all the detail. It is very busy. I appreciate that it's not everybody's taste to have such a busy layout, but it was just fun to do, to experiment with layering and texture and colour and so on. So thank you for joining me. If you'd like to purchase any of the products you see, please head to artfulstampin.co.uk and just drop me a line if you've got any questions.